Breaking down the G7 Ukraine edition. The G7 happened this weekend in Alberta, and President Zelenskyy was invited as a special guest alongside leaders from India, Brazil, Turkey, and the African Union. Day one, Canada delivered its largest ever military package to Ukraine. $2 billion in aid, including drones, helicopters, ammunition, and critical equipment, a $2.3 billion recovery loan funded by interest from Russian frozen assets, plus new sanctions targeting over 200 Shadow Fleet tankers and individuals helping Russia dodge restrictions. Other G7 countries then followed suit. The UK, Japan, France, and the EU all agreed to ramp up sanctions. But here's the caveat: the US was not on board. Trump didn't want to increase sanctions on Russia and opposed issuing a joint G7 statement in support of Ukraine. Then, day two rolls around, US President Donald Trump leaves the summit early, his meeting with Zelenskyy never happens, and on his way out, he openly questions why Russia wasn't at the table. Canada scrambled to adjust the agenda so that leaders could still meet with Trump, but Trump's early exit had already shifted the tone of the summit. So overall, was the G7 a win for Ukraine? Partly. Ukraine did receive more aid, stronger sanctions were placed on Russia, and Europe did step up. Zelenskyy was also able to meet with leaders like Macron, Starmar, Meloni, and Rutte, but the summit showed how fragile global unity is becoming. At the end of the day, no joint communiqué was issued. A communiqué is the official written statement that sums up what all G7 members agreed upon. It's symbolic, but also strategic, because it shows unity on global priorities. You'll often see similar communiqués issued at other major summits like NATO, the EU, and beyond. Now, heading into the summit, leaders really weren't expecting a joint communiqué to be issued. Everyone knew it'd be a tough sell, and Trump basically shrugged it off, calling it a formality, but it's not just bureaucratic fluff. A communiqué signals alignment, it shows unity, and the fact that one couldn't be issued, and especially why, is incredibly telling. Nonetheless, several smaller joint statements did come out of the summit on critical minerals, artificial intelligence, migrant smuggling, and the crisis in the Middle East, including commitments on humanitarian aid and de-escalation. But some issues were just too divisive: climate policy timelines, global tax reforms, how to deal with China, and somehow Ukraine ended up on that list too. Regarding Ukraine, a smaller joint statement was signed pledging to expand sanctions and deepen support, but the US did not sign off on it. I don't know about you, but I'm so invested in seeing how this might impact a bigger alliance that happens to be meeting next week. A communiqué will be vital at the NATO summit in The Hague. I'd love to know your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. Drop them down below and stay tuned.